Months passed, and life in the small Wisconsin town returned to a semblance of normalcy. The mysterious lights in the sky became a distant memory for some, but for others, like Emily and Jake, the experience lingered vividly in their minds. The device left behind by Keltar and his crew had been discovered buried near the forest's edge. Scientists pored over it, decoding its contents to uncover knowledge about sustainable energy sources, technology far beyond anything humanity had achieved on its own. It was a gift that sparked a new era of innovation, inspiring breakthroughs in clean power, medicine, and engineering. In Emily's classroom, the science fair buzzed with excitement as students showcased projects inspired by the alien artifact. One group built a miniature solar farm capable of powering an entire neighborhood. Another designed a water purification system that could operate in disaster zones. Even Jake's tech club contributed, unveiling a prototype drone powered entirely by renewable energy. As she walked among her students, Emily felt a swell of pride. These young minds were shaping the future, proving that humanity's potential was limitless. News of the artifact spread globally, igniting debates about extraterrestrial life and humanity's place in the universe. Governments scrambled to study the technology, while grassroots movements called for transparency and unity. For the first time, nations began working together, pooling resources to ensure the newfound knowledge benefited everyone. Humanity's response to the unknown wasn't fear, it was collaboration. Dr. Carter remained at the forefront of these efforts, leading research teams dedicated to understanding the artifact's origins. He often thought back to his encounter with Keltar, replaying their conversation in his mind. They underestimated us, he mused during a late-night meeting with colleagues. But maybe that's a good thing. If they come back, we'll be ready, not just to defend ourselves, but to show them what we're capable of. Meanwhile, light years away, Keltar stood aboard his mothership, staring out at the stars. His report had sparked intense discussions among his people. Some leaders argued that delaying the invasion was reckless, insisting humanity would eventually pose a threat. Others, swayed by Keltar's observations, believed coexistence might be possible, if approached carefully. The debate raged on, but one thing was clear: Earth was no longer seen as a primitive target. It was a world to watch, a species destined for greatness. Keltar often found himself reflecting on his time on Earth. He remembered Emily's warmth, Jake's curiosity, and Dr. Carter's determination. Most of all, he recalled the resilience he'd witnessed, the way humans came together in the face of uncertainty. It reminded him of something Vela had said during their mission. Perhaps we have more to learn from them than they do from us. One evening, as the ship drifted through the vast expanse of space, Keltar received a message from the Council. They had decided to postpone any plans for Earth indefinitely, choosing instead to monitor humanity's progress from afar. It wasn't peace, but it was a start. Keltar felt a flicker of hope. Maybe someday, when both species were ready, contact could happen again, not as conquerors and defenders, but as equals. Back on Earth, Emily stood in her backyard under a blanket of stars. She didn't know if aliens would ever return, or if they were watching even now, but she hoped they were proud of what humanity had done with their gift. In the distance, children laughed as they played, their voices carrying on the cool night breeze. Somewhere in the cosmos, Keltar looked toward Earth, feeling the same quiet admiration. Humanity wasn't perfect. They made mistakes, argued, and struggled. But they also dreamed, created, and persevered. And perhaps that was the most terrifying truth of all. You couldn't underestimate them. Because no matter the odds, humans always found a way to rise above. Keltar sat in the cockpit of the Erindor*, staring at the blue planet shrinking in the distance. The decision to leave had been difficult, but it was the right one. Humanity wasn't ready for full contact. Not yet. Still, their encounter had left an indelible mark on him. He replayed Dr. Carter's words in his mind. If your intentions turn hostile, humanity will defend itself. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Humans weren't just survivors. They were fighters, driven by a spirit Keltar hadn't anticipated. Vela joined him, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think we made the right choice?" she asked softly. "Yes," Keltar replied without hesitation. "Attacking Earth would have been a mistake. They're too unpredictable, too determined. We underestimated them, and that could have cost us everything." Joran, seated at the communications console, chimed in. "But what about the fleet? Our superiors won't be happy when we tell them we failed the mission." "We didn't fail," Keltar said firmly. "We learned something far more valuable. Humanity isn't a species to conquer, it's a species to respect. If we attack, we'll start a war we might not win. But if we wait, maybe there's a chance for peace." Vela nodded slowly. "You're right. They've shown us that coexistence is possible, if both sides are willing to try." As the ship approached the edge of Earth's atmosphere, Keltar activated the communication array. He recorded a detailed report for the mothership, describing everything he'd observed. Humanity's ingenuity, their resilience, their capacity for unity and compassion. He emphasized the risks of an invasion, urging caution. When the message was complete, he transmitted it into the void, hoping his superiors would listen. Hours later, a response came through. The commander's voice was stern but measured. "Your findings are troubling, Keltar. The invasion fleet has been instructed to stand down for now. However, continued observation is required. Return to base immediately." Relief washed over Keltar. The fleet wouldn't come, yet. Humanity had been given a reprieve, a chance to continue evolving without interference. But he knew this wasn't the end. Sooner or later, humans would step onto the galactic stage, and when they did, the universe would never be the same. Before leaving Earth entirely, Keltar instructed Joran to deploy a small device near the town where they'd spent so much time. It contained knowledge of sustainable energy sources, carefully curated to aid humanity's growth without revealing too much about alien technology. "It's a gift," Keltar explained. "A gesture of goodwill. Maybe it will help them prepare for the future." As the Erindor * disappeared into the stars, life on Earth carried on. In the town, people worked tirelessly to fortify their community. Emily organized workshops to teach survival skills, while Jake and his tech club refined their inventions, dreaming of ways to protect their world. Even Dr. Carter remained vigilant, studying the recording of his encounter with Keltar, determined to learn as much as he could about their mysterious visitors. Weeks passed, and the initial panic began to subside. The strange lights in the sky were dismissed by some as natural phenomena, though others remained convinced they'd witnessed something extraordinary. Discussions about extraterrestrial life became part of everyday conversations, sparking curiosity rather than fear. Humanity, ever adaptable, embraced the unknown with characteristic determination. One evening, Emily stood outside her home, gazing at the stars. She felt a strange sense of connection to the vast universe above, a feeling that Earth was no longer alone. Whether aliens returned or not, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity had proven its strength. They had faced uncertainty and risen to the challenge, united by hope and courage. Far away, aboard the Erindor *, Keltar looked back at Earth one last time. He felt a pang of admiration, and perhaps even envy. Humanity's journey was just beginning, and though their path would be fraught with challenges, he believed they would persevere. For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a future where humans and his own species could meet not as enemies, but as equals. The next morning, Emily stood in front of her classroom, watching as her students filed in. They were buzzing with excitement, talking about the strange events that had unfolded over the past few days. News of unidentified lights in the sky and increased military activity had spread quickly through the town. Some kids claimed they'd seen a UFO, while others joked about alien invasions. Despite their playful banter, there was an undercurrent of unease. Everyone could feel it. "All right, settle down," Emily said, clapping her hands to get their attention. "I know everyone's curious about what's happening, But let's focus on today's lesson. She wrote the word resilience on the board and turned to face the class. Who can tell me what this means? A girl in the front row raised her hand. It's when you keep going even when things are hard. Exactly, Emily replied with a smile. Resilience is about finding strength in tough times. And right now, our community needs to show resilience more than ever. Her words seemed to resonate with the students. One boy asked, "Do you think aliens are really out there, Miss?" Emily hesitated, thinking back to her conversations with Keltar. She didn't have all the answers, but she chose her response carefully. Maybe. What matters is how we react if they are. Fear can divide us, but curiosity and kindness can bring us together. After class ended, Emily stayed behind to organize materials for the upcoming science fair. As she worked, Jake appeared in the doorway, looking nervous. "Hey, miss," he said quietly. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" "Of course," Emily replied, gesturing for him to sit. "What's on your mind?" Jake glanced around to make sure no one else was listening. "Remember those people I told you about? The ones who came to the tech club? I think they might be aliens." Emily froze, unsure how to respond. "Why do you say that?" "I saw something weird," Jake admitted. "One of them shimmered, like they weren't fully human. And then there's the footage I uploaded. It's getting a lot of attention online. People are saying it's proof of extraterrestrial life." Emily took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "Jake, whether or not they're aliens, it doesn't change who we are. We're still humans, and we'll handle this the same way we handle anything else, with courage and teamwork." Jake nodded slowly, though he still looked troubled. "Do you think they'll come back?" "I don't know," Emily admitted. "But if they do, we'll be ready." Later that evening, the entire town gathered at the community center for a meeting. The room was packed with residents of all ages, their faces reflecting a mix of fear and determination. A local leader stepped up to address the crowd. "We don't know what's out there," he began. "But we do know this. We're stronger together. If these visitors mean us harm, we'll defend ourselves. But if they're here to learn, maybe we can teach them something about humanity." The audience erupted into murmurs of agreement. Plans were made to set up decoys in case of an attack, build shelters, and prepare emergency supplies. Everyone had a role to play, from children helping distribute flyers to seniors offering advice based on past experiences. It was chaotic but inspiring, a testament to humanity's ability to adapt and unite. Meanwhile, miles away, Dr. Carter reviewed the recording he'd secretly made of his encounter with Keltar. He forwarded it to trusted colleagues, along with a note. "If contact happens again, we need to be ready, not with weapons, but with understanding." As night fell over the town, Emily looked out her window at the stars. She couldn't shake the feeling that something extraordinary was happening, not just to her, but to all of humanity. For better or worse, Earth was no longer alone in the universe, and whatever came next, she knew one thing for certain: humans wouldn't back down without a fight, or a chance to prove themselves worthy of coexistence. Keltar returned to the ship, his mind swirling with conflicting thoughts. Jake's words echoed in his head. "If you're here to help us, we could use all the allies we can get." The boy's trust, and his willingness to accept Keltar despite suspicions, had shaken him. Humans weren't just resilient. They were capable of forgiveness and cooperation, even in the face of fear. It was a quality Keltar hadn't anticipated, and it made him question everything he'd been taught about conquest. When he arrived, Vela and Joran were deep in discussion. "The military is closing in," Joran said grimly. "Their vehicles are sweeping the area. We need to move before they find us." Vela turned to Keltar, her expression tense. "What did you learn?" He hesitated, then shared what Jake had said. "The humans know something unusual is happening. They're scared, but they're preparing. Communities are coming together, sharing resources and ideas. They're not acting like victims. They're acting like survivors." Joran scoffed. Survivors. They'll be lucky to survive an invasion fleet. That's the thing, Keltar replied sharply. They might. These people don't give up easily. Look at how fast their technology is advancing. Look at how they adapt and work together. If we attack, they won't roll over. They'll fight back. And I'm not sure we're ready for that. Vela crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing. So what do you suggest? We can't stay here forever. Before Keltar could answer, the ship's sensors blared an alert. A convoy of military trucks was approaching their location. Through the monitors, they could see soldiers setting up equipment, scanning the forest with advanced detection devices. Time was running out. We have one option, Keltar said finally. We contact Dr. Carter. He knows more about alien life than most humans. If anyone can understand our situation, it's him. Vela and Joran exchanged skeptical glances, but neither objected. Keltar activated the holographic disguise again and drove back to the research facility. When he arrived, he bypassed security using Joran's forged credentials and requested an urgent meeting with Dr. Carter. To his relief, Carter agreed to see him immediately. In the privacy of Carter's office, Keltar revealed his true form, letting the hologram fade away. The scientist stared at him in shock, his mouth opening and closing as if struggling to speak. Finally, he managed to say, "You're real." "Yes," Keltar replied. "And we're not here to harm you. My mission was to assess humanity's potential as a threat. But now I realize we've underestimated you." Carter leaned back in his chair, studying Keltar carefully. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because your government is hunting us," Keltar explained. "If they find my ship, they'll try to capture or destroy it. That could escalate into something far worse, an invasion. I want to avoid that." Carter rubbed his temples, clearly overwhelmed. "Let me get this straight. You're aliens, and you came here to spy on us. Now you're asking for my help." "I'm asking for understanding," Keltar corrected. "Your species is remarkable. You innovate, adapt, and unite when faced with challenges. Attacking Earth would be a mistake for both our peoples." For a long moment, Carter didn't respond. Then he sighed deeply. "I won't lie. I've spent years studying the possibility of extraterrestrial life, but I never imagined it would happen like this." He paused, considering his next words. "If you leave peacefully, I won't report you. But if your intentions turn hostile, humanity will defend itself." Keltar nodded, grateful for the offer. "That's all I ask." As he left the facility, Keltar felt a strange sense of hope. For the first time, he believed coexistence might be possible, if both sides were willing to take the risk. Back at the ship, he relayed the conversation to Vela and Joran. "We should go," Vela said softly, "before it's too late." Keltar agreed. As the Erindor lifted off silently into the night sky, none of them noticed the small device Carter had placed nearby, a recording of their encounter hidden safely for future generations. Humanity wasn't just ready to face the unknown, it was determined to learn from it. Back at the ship, tensions were rising. Joran had been monitoring Earth's communications closely, and what he found was troubling. Military activity in the region had increased significantly. Satellites were scanning the area more frequently, likely triggered by the crashed drone near the Tech Club meeting. News outlets began reporting sightings of strange lights in the sky, lights that matched the patterns of the Erindor's landing. The humans were starting to piece things together. "We're running out of time," Joran said, his voice tight with urgency. "If they discover us, we'll lose the advantage. We need to leave now." Keltar shook his head. "Not yet. We still don't have enough information. If we go back empty-handed, our superiors will send the invasion fleet without hesitation. And if they attack, humanity will fight back harder than anyone expects." Vela stepped between them, her tone calm but firm. "There's another problem. Jake, the boy from the Tech Club, he uploaded footage of us online. It's only a matter of time before someone analyzes it. Joran cursed under his breath. This mission is falling apart. Humans are too curious, too observant. They won't stop until they uncover the truth. Keltar clenched his fists, frustration building inside him. He knew Joran was right. They couldn't afford any mistakes. But abandoning the mission felt wrong. Humanity wasn't just a threat. It was a mystery. Their creativity, adaptability, and determination challenged everything Keltar thought he knew about conquest and survival. Leaving now would mean giving up on understanding them fully. Before they could argue further, an alert flashed on one of the ship's monitors. Joran moved quickly to investigate, his fingers flying over the controls. "It's worse than I thought," he muttered. "The government has intercepted our transmissions. They know something's here." "Do they suspect aliens?" Vela asked, her voice tinged with worry. "They're not sure yet," Joran replied. "But they're sending teams to investigate. If they find the ship," Keltar made a decision. "We need to stay hidden and gather as much data as possible before they arrive. Vela, keep monitoring their movements. Joran, prepare the cloaking device for emergency use. I'll go back into town and see if I can learn anything useful." Reluctantly, the others agreed. As Keltar left the ship, he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Every step he took toward the town carried the risk of discovery, but he couldn't turn back now. This mission was no longer just about assessing humanity. It was about deciding its fate. In town, Keltar noticed subtle changes. People seemed more alert, glancing at the sky or discussing recent events in hushed tones. At the cafe where he'd first met Emily, he found her sitting alone, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when he approached, forcing a smile. "Hey, stranger," she said. "You've been showing up a lot lately. What's going on?" Keltar hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "I'm just interested in your world. It's fascinating." Emily studied him for a moment, then sighed. "Something's happening, isn't it? Everyone's talking about those lights in the sky. Some say it's aliens. Others think it's a secret military test. Either way, it feels like we're being watched." Her words sent a chill down Keltar's spine. Humans were closer to the truth than he realized. Still, he played along, asking casual questions about local reactions. Emily told him about community meetings being organized to discuss the situation. "People are scared," she admitted, "but they're also preparing. You'd be surprised how resourceful humans can be when we have to." Later, Keltar visited the tech club again. Jake greeted him with a nervous smile. "Did you check out the files?" he asked. When Keltar nodded, Jake lowered his voice. "Listen, I didn't tell anyone, but I think you're involved in whatever's going on. That shimmer around your friend. She's not human, is she?" Keltar froze, caught off guard. Before he could respond, Jake held up his hands. "Don't worry, I won't say anything. But if you're here to help us, we could use all the allies we can get." The sincerity in Jake's voice stunned Keltar. Despite the fear and uncertainty spreading through the town, these humans weren't panicking. They were uniting, preparing to face the unknown together. For the first time, Keltar questioned whether his mission was truly necessary, or if coexistence might be the better path forward. On their way back to the ship that evening, Keltar and Vela decided to take a shortcut through an open field. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was peaceful, almost serene, but Keltar couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He glanced around, his sharp eyes scanning the tall grass and distant trees. Nothing seemed out of place, yet his instincts told him otherwise. Suddenly, a loud whirring sound broke the silence. A small drone zipped past them, hovering briefly before darting away. Keltar froze, realizing it might have captured footage of them. Before he could react, the drone wobbled midair and crashed into the ground just a few feet away. Smoke rose from its damaged frame as two teenagers emerged from behind a nearby tree. One of them, a boy with messy hair and a backpack, approached cautiously. "Hey, are you okay?" the boy asked, glancing at the smoking drone. "We didn't mean to scare you. We're testing this thing for our tech club." Keltar exchanged a quick look with Vela. They needed to handle this carefully. "We're fine," Keltar replied, forcing a smile. "But your drone doesn't seem to be working too well." The boy laughed nervously. "Yeah, we're still working out the bugs. I'm Jake, by the way." He gestured to his friend, a girl holding a tablet. "This is Mia. We're part of a group that builds stuff like this for fun." Vela stepped forward, her tone friendly but guarded. "It's impressive what you've done so far. How long have you been working on it?" Jake shrugged. "A couple of months. It's tricky, but we're learning." As he spoke, his gaze lingered on Vela's hand, which shimmered faintly under the fading sunlight. He blinked, unsure if he'd seen it correctly. Keltar noticed the hesitation and quickly interjected. "You kids must be very talented. Do you do this often?" Jake nodded, though his attention kept drifting back to Vela. "Yeah, we meet every week. You should come check it out sometime. It's pretty cool." Keltar hesitated. This was risky. They couldn't afford to draw attention, but curiosity got the better of him. "Maybe we will," he said finally. "Where do you hold these meetings?" "At the community center downtown," Jake replied, pulling a flyer from his pocket. "Here's the info. Just show up if you're interested." After thanking them, Keltar and Vela hurried back to the ship. Once inside, they discussed what had happened. "That boy saw something," Vela said, her voice tense. "He noticed the shimmer." "It doesn't matter," Keltar replied. "Even if he suspects something, no one will believe him without proof. Still, we need to be more careful." Jorin, who had been listening quietly, frowned. "I don't like this. Humans are observant. If they start asking questions—" "They won't," Keltar interrupted. "Besides, going to their meeting might give us useful information. These kids are experimenting with technology. It's worth investigating." The next day, Keltar and Vela attended the tech club meeting. The community center was filled with tables covered in gadgets, wires, and tools. Students moved between projects, explaining their work to visitors. Jake spotted them immediately and waved them over. "Glad you made it," he said enthusiastically. "Let me show you around." As they toured the room, Keltar and Vela were amazed by the variety of inventions. One group had built a robotic arm controlled by hand gestures, while another had created glowing plants using bioengineering. The third team demonstrated a basic AI program that could answer simple questions. Each project showcased creativity and problem-solving skills that even advanced civilizations would admire. "This is incredible," Vela whispered to Keltar. "They're not just playing around. They're pushing boundaries." Keltar nodded, though unease gnawed at him. These teenagers weren't professionals. They were amateurs with limited resources, yet they achieved results that rivaled some of his species' own innovations. What would happen if humanity reached its full potential? Before leaving, Jake handed them a USB drive. "Take this," he said. "It's got all our designs and notes. Maybe it'll inspire you." Keltar accepted it, smiling politely. Back at the ship, they reviewed the data. The files contained detailed plans, calculations, and ideas, many of which were groundbreaking. Humanity's ingenuity was undeniable. For the first time, Keltar wondered if conquering such a species was truly possible or wise. The next morning, Keltar prepared to visit the research facility. Using a forged identity card created by Jorin's advanced tech, he disguised himself as a visiting scientist named Dr. Evan Holt. His holographic disguise gave him a slightly older appearance, complete with glasses and a lab coat. Vela wished him luck before staying behind to monitor communications from the ship. As Keltar drove toward the facility in a rented car, he felt a mix of excitement and unease. This was his first real test. How far could he push his cover without raising suspicion? When he arrived at the Carter Research Facility, security guards checked his ID thoroughly, but eventually let him through. Inside, the building buzzed with activity. Scientists moved between labs, carrying tablets and notebooks, while machines hummed softly in the background. Keltar followed Science to the main lab, where he was greeted by Dr. Alan Carter himself. The man was tall and broad-shouldered, with graying hair and a friendly smile that didn't quite reach his sharp eyes. "Dr. Holt, welcome," Carter said, shaking Keltar's hand firmly. "We're glad you could join us today. I hear you specialize in quantum mechanics." Keltar nodded, sticking to the backstory they had created. "Yes, though I admit your work here interests me more than my own projects. What exactly are you working on?" Carter's face lit up with enthusiasm. He led Keltar to a large room filled with equipment, computers, wires, and strange devices that glowed faintly. In the center stood a massive machine shaped like a sphere, surrounded by technicians making adjustments. "This is our latest project," Carter explained. "It's an attempt to harness quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication across vast distances. If successful, it could revolutionize the way we connect with distant parts of the world, or even space." Keltar stared at the device, trying to mask his shock. Quantum entanglement was a concept his species had struggled with for centuries, yet these humans were on the verge of mastering it. Their progress was astonishing and alarming. He asked thoughtful questions, pretending to be impressed, while secretly analyzing every detail. Carter seemed pleased by his interest and answered openly, clearly proud of his team's achievements. As the tour continued, Keltar noticed something else. The scientists worked seamlessly together, bouncing ideas off one another and solving problems as a unit. There was no hierarchy or fear holding them back, just collaboration fueled by curiosity and determination. It reminded him of what Emily had described about her students earlier. Humans thrived when they worked as a group, combining their strengths to overcome obstacles. Later, during a break, Keltar overheard two researchers discussing another project, a prototype energy shield designed to protect against electromagnetic pulses. They joked about how it might save them if aliens ever attacked. The comment made Keltar freeze momentarily, but he quickly recovered, laughing along with them. Still, the irony wasn't lost on him. These humans were unknowingly preparing for threats they couldn't imagine. By the end of the day, Keltar returned to the ship, his mind racing. He shared everything he'd learned with Vela and Joran. "Their technology is advancing faster than we thought," he admitted. "And their ability to innovate, it's incredible. They adapt so quickly, turning failures into stepping stones." Vela frowned. "If they continue at this pace, they'll surpass us soon. Maybe sooner than we realize." Joran remained silent, studying the data Keltar had gathered. Finally, he spoke. "There's more. I intercepted a transmission earlier. A government agency nearby is working on reverse engineering alien artifacts. They've been stockpiling materials recovered from unidentified objects found in remote areas." Keltar felt a chill run through him. Humans weren't just innovating. They were actively seeking ways to understand and replicate extraterrestrial technology. Their ambition knew no bounds. For the first time, doubt crept into his mind. Was conquering Earth truly worth the risk? Or would attempting to subjugate such a resilient species only lead to disaster? As night fell over the forest, the three aliens sat in silence, each lost in their thoughts. Humanity was proving to be far more complex and dangerous than anyone had anticipated. Keltar and Vela sat across from Emily in the small cafe, pretending to sip their drinks. The warm atmosphere of the place was surprising. Soft music played in the background, and the smell of freshly baked pastries filled the air. Emily continued talking, her voice cheerful and animated. She told them about her job as a high school teacher and how much she loved working with young people. "They're full of ideas," she said with a smile. "Sometimes they come up with solutions I wouldn't have thought of myself." Keltar nodded politely, though his mind was racing. He had expected humans to be simple and predictable, but Emily's words hinted at something deeper. These creatures weren't just following instincts or routines. They were thinking, creating, solving problems. It made him uneasy. Vela, on the other hand, seemed intrigued. She leaned forward slightly, asking questions about the students and their projects. Emily happily explained how one group had built a robot that could sort recycling, while another had designed a water filtration system for a science fair. "They sound impressive," Vela said carefully, glancing at Keltar. He gave her a subtle warning look, reminding her not to reveal too much interest. But inside, he couldn't deny it. There was something remarkable about these humans. Their ability to innovate, even with limited resources, was unexpected. After a while, Emily excused herself, saying she needed to prepare for her next class. As she left, Keltar and Vela stepped outside, walking slowly down the street. They passed shops and homes, observing the townspeople going about their day. Children played on swings in a nearby park, laughing loudly as they chased each other. A man pushed a stroller while talking on his phone, occasionally glancing at the baby inside. Everything seemed so ordinary, yet there was an undercurrent of activity, a sense of purpose in every movement. "This is strange," Vela murmured after a moment. "Their behavior, it's not what we anticipated." "What do you mean?" Keltar asked, keeping his tone neutral. "They adapt quickly," she replied. "Even in this short time, I've noticed how they work together, share knowledge, and solve challenges. It's almost inspiring." Keltar frowned. "Don't let yourself get distracted. We're here to assess their weaknesses, not admire their strengths." Vela didn't respond, but her expression suggested she wasn't entirely convinced. They continued walking until they reached the edge of town, where fields stretched out toward the horizon. In the distance, they spotted a large building surrounded by fences and security cameras. A sign near the gate read, *Carter Research Facility. Authorized personnel only *. "That must be the place Joran mentioned," Keltar said, nodding toward the facility. Earlier, Joran had intercepted radio transmissions indicating that a team led by Dr. Alan Carter was conducting experiments involving advanced energy technology. If humans were close to discovering new ways to harness power, it could change everything. "We should investigate," Vela suggested. "If they're making progress in areas we haven't mastered yet, it could pose a significant threat." Keltar agreed. "I'll go in tomorrow. You stay close to the ship and keep monitoring activity in the area. We can't afford any mistakes." That night, back at the hidden scout ship, Joran greeted them with news. "There's been increased military communication in this region," he reported. "Something big is happening nearby. We need to be careful." Keltar listened carefully, his mind turning over the possibilities. Humans were proving to be more complex than he'd imagined. Their curiosity, creativity, and determination were traits he hadn't fully considered before arriving. For the first time, he wondered if conquering Earth would be as easy as his superiors believed. Still, he pushed those thoughts aside. His mission was clear, and he intended to complete it, no matter what. As the three aliens prepared for the next day's tasks, none of them realized just how much their encounter with humanity would challenge everything they thought they knew. The alien scout ship, Irindor*, descended silently into Earth's atmosphere. It moved like a shadow, invisible to the naked eye, and undetected by human radar systems. Inside the small craft, three beings sat at their stations, their bodies covered in sleek silver suits that shimmered faintly under dim lights. Keltar, the leader of the mission, watched the blue planet grow larger through the viewport. His sharp eyes scanned the swirling clouds and vast oceans below. This was humanity's home, a world his people had been observing for years from afar. Now, they were here to see it up close. Beside him, Vela adjusted the controls on her console. Her long fingers moved with precision as she checked the readings on their cloaking device. "All systems are functioning perfectly," she said in a calm voice. "We won't be seen." Joran, seated behind them, nodded without looking up from his own screen. He was focused on monitoring Earth's communication signals, searching for anything unusual. The three of them worked quietly, each lost in their thoughts about the task ahead. Their mission was clear: gather information about humans and determine if they posed a threat to Keltar's species. If the answer was yes, then the invasion fleet waiting in deep space would move forward with its plan to conquer Earth. But if the answer was no, the fleet would stand down, leaving humanity alone. For now, Keltar felt confident. Based on what he'd read in the reports, humans were primitive creatures, still divided by borders, wars, and greed. They couldn't possibly stand against his advanced civilization. The ship touched down gently in a dense forest in Wisconsin. Trees surrounded them, their branches swaying softly in the wind. The air smelled fresh but unfamiliar, filled with scents Keltar couldn't quite identify. After ensuring their cloaking field was active, the trio stepped out of the ship. Their true forms, tall, slender creatures with pale skin and large, dark eyes, were hidden beneath holographic disguises. To any human who might stumble upon them, they would appear completely ordinary. Keltar glanced around, taking in the quiet beauty of the forest. Birds chirped overhead, and the sound of rustling leaves filled the air. "This place seems peaceful," Vela remarked, tilting her head slightly. "Almost too peaceful." Joran grunted in agreement, keeping his hand near the weapon strapped to his side. None of them trusted this planet yet. "We'll split up," Keltar instructed. "Vela, you come with me. We'll head toward the nearest settlement to observe the locals. Joran, stay here and keep an eye on the ship. Report anything suspicious immediately." As Keltar and Vela walked through the woods, they soon found themselves approaching a small town. Houses lined the streets, and cars passed by slowly. People went about their daily lives, chatting with neighbors or running errands. Everything seemed so normal. Yet there was something unsettling about it all. Humans looked fragile, almost harmless, but Keltar reminded himself not to underestimate them. Appearances could be deceiving. In the center of the town, they entered a cozy cafe. A bell rang as they pushed open the door, and the smell of coffee greeted them. At a nearby table, a woman with curly brown hair sat sipping tea. She smiled warmly when she noticed them. "Are you new around here?" she asked. Keltar hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Yes, we're just passing through," he replied, careful to mimic human speech patterns. The woman introduced herself as Emily. She was curious about them and eager to talk. As she shared stories about her life and the people in the town, Keltar listened intently. There was something about her words that caught his attention, a sense of resilience, creativity, and hope. For the first time since arriving on Earth, he began to wonder if humanity might be more than what the reports claimed.